Welcome to another episode of Well-Adjusted Mama. This is a podcast dedicated to educating and empowering women from preconception, pregnancy, birth, and through early motherhood on wellness lifestyle. I'm your host, Dr. Laura Brayton, and I'm a maternity pediatric chiropractor, functional medicine practitioner, and mother who has hand-selected experts and natural holistic healthcare specialties to shine light on options and choices during this exciting phase of a woman's life. And if you've noticed over the past few months, I have been really interested in the topic of women's sexual health. And here we go again. We're going to talk about integrating fertility and sexuality with my special guest, Pamela Madsen. Pamela Madsen is a veteran advocate, activist, and educator, and she's even been on Oprah. Among her many accomplishments, Pamela Madsen was the founder and first executive director of the American Fertility Association. She's been called to give testimony at hearings for the National Institutes of Health, FDA, the President's Council on Bioethics, and the Centers for Disease Control. And her leadership has been honored by organizations including RESOLVE NYC and the New York City chapter of Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. As founder of Back to the Body, her full-bodied mix of intelligence, humor, and vulnerability has made her one of the most mediagenic advocates for integrated sexuality and a taboo-buster around body image. Pamela has a Bachelor of Science in Psychology and Education, a master's degree in education, and is a certified Somatic Sex Educator. Hi, Pamela. Welcome to the show. I'm very excited to have you on today.
I'm thrilled to be here. We're talking about my favorite subjects, the things that I have cut my teeth on, which is fertility and sexuality. Mm-hmm.
And merging the two together, I think sometimes people think they're very separate concepts, but they're not. So talk to me about why you're so passionate about bringing sexuality into fertility.
Well, can we take a step back?
Yeah.
So, my background was in infertility, fertility. I went through that when I was a younger person, having my sons through in vitro fertilization. So my experience of trying to conceive a child with ovulation predicted kits, back then we were using also basal thermometers. Then moving on to gonadotropins and injectables, had absolutely nothing to do with lovemaking and sexuality.
Right.
And there becomes a feeling of body betrayal when you don't conceive when you think you should be conceiving. And that can happen for women who are not infertile. I mean, they just take out their diaphragm or stop taking the pill and expect to conceive immediedly.
Right.
And so the feeling of body betrayal can happen even if no infertility happens. Is that they're not in control of the when, where, and how in the way that they are in other aspects of their life. And so we love to have control over our money, sovereignty over how we live our lives. And our body sometimes has a different agenda than our minds and our desires and what we want to have happen in our lives. And that can result in body betrayal and also this feeling of not feeling sexy.
Right.
And, it's pretty hard to make date night, make baby sex fun when you're really focused on conceiving a child.
When you're stressed. Yeah.
When you're stressed. And I also think that so many people don't really understand their biological clock. And what I mentioned to you before we came on the air was about 15 years ago. I did the first study with Dr. Richard Scott on what women knew about their fertility. And we did this in 7 We did this in with over 17,000 women from around the world, from Uganda to the UK to the US. Lots of other fertility nonprofits worked with us to get the data. And what we found out was that women thought that fertility declined around age 42 to 45.
Mm-hmm.
And they based this on their physical appearance. And so what's true, and if you don't know this yet, I'm sorry to be the one to tell you this. Mother Nature isn't a feminist. Mother Nature would love you to be pregnant at 15. Love you to be pregnant at 15. Because that's when your eggs are the youngest and the most ripe. And that's why teenage pregnancy is such an issue. It's because
so easy.
Yeah, they're fertile. You know, those eggs are like, hello, sperm. Hello. I'm over here this way, right?
Right.
What's true is that fertility declines at 27.
And our ancestors were getting pregnant at 15, and that was very normal, right?
Very normal. And so
so we're wired that way.
We are wired that way. And so to people to understand in the preconception time is what you want your life to look like. So do you want a life with children? Is that like something you really want to have? I suggest that women work backwards, because you can't have it all at once.
Right.
Okay. And we come from a society with lost attention span, lost focus, you know, everything quick, controlling everything. And we're being given this message still all the time that you can have it all. Well, yes, in its time. So if you are looking to have a child, I would check in. And don't worry, we'll get to the sex. But I feel like this is just really important information for people. If you're listening in here, you're interested in conception. You're interested in this idea. So you need to know that the first dip of fertility happens at 27.
Yeah, let's talk about that. How was that determined?
By scientists.
Okay.
By scientists. Not by me.
Right. And that dip was a small dip? Like, what are we talking here?
It's the beginning. It's the beginning of
a decline in fertility for women specifically.
For women specifically, we are like dairy products. We have a freshness date and we expire. And they can do so much more with men than they can do with women. And so in your early 30s, around 32, 33, there's another dip. Okay. There's another dip at 37, and there's a huge dip at 40. So many women wake up to the idea of having a baby with our sociological lives, which is different than our biological lives. Many women wake up to the idea of having a child somewhere between the ages of 35 and 40.
Right. Especially in the New York area.
Yeah, and that is why the infertility clinics are so full. And so if you're 30 and you're listening to this and you picture yourself, very importantly, to have a child, if there is a problem with your ability to conceive with your partner or yourself, you will have a much better outcome if you start earlier. So sometimes we have to take a pregnant pause in our lives. And we have to decide if having a child is this important to us, then maybe I'm not going to take that job right now. Maybe I'm not going to do the trip. Maybe I'm going to put this in front. Because if you're 32 or 33 years old, it's a great time to try to have a baby. And then if you have trouble conceiving, you still have young enough eggs where in vitro fertilization and other aspects of fertility treatment have a really optimal chance of working. The same thing with the men. So men with very low sperm count or problems with morphology, we can take one sad little sperm one sad little sperm, and we can shove it in an egg. It's called ICSI, into cytoplasmic sperm injection. So they can pop it in the egg. That egg still has to be young enough
Right.
to receive that sperm. So whether it's male issues or female issues, the woman, as usual, is carrying the load. We're used to that. And get your FSH tested. If you're thinking about waiting longer, go see a reproductive endocrinologist, not a regular gynecologist. Go see a reproductive endocrinologist and have an evaluation. Make a fertility plan and ask for realistic numbers for you, for your partner, so that you don't show up in a doctor's office at 43 years old and you're slim and you're athletic and you look great, and you find out from your blood work, game over. And that has been the case for so many women because they're not given this information. The reason that sexuality comes in here is women have trouble having orgasm when they're goal-oriented about having orgasm. So the more we take away the goal of orgasm and help women enjoy the ride of arousal and peaking in their pleasure, the more we take away the goal, the more likely they are to have a climax. If you are having conception sex and
you have a goal,
and you have a goal, and the goal is to make the baby, I will almost guarantee that you are not feeling erotic.
Right.
You're feeling medicalized, commodified, fear of failure. Are you doing it right? Are your legs up? Is this the right amount of time? Not sexy.
No. And men have that issue too. They have performance anxiety, right?
Of course. Now, what if we made it into a game? Like, what if you made it so lots of people into power exchange. Lots of people and I'm just making this up right now, Dr. Britton, as we're talking. Okay?
I love it.
I'm just riffing on this with you. So, in my experience, so many women love power exchange. And whether they're dominant or submissive in the bedroom, which is different than in the boardroom, right? So the boudoir is separate than the boardroom. So what if you can play with the power dynamic around baby making sex? What if you played role play games around baby making sex? Like, having conversations with your partner ahead of time, like, how do we make this fun?
Right.
I'm going to be your conception sex baby maker. You're going to come in and you're going to tell me, are you ready? You ready to make my baby? And I need you to lay down and spread your legs because I have to eat your pussy for half an hour before we're ready for this. And make it hot. Make it a role play. Make it fun. Yeah. Otherwise, you know what? It's shitty.
Right.
And I'm not going to say that it's not. It's like, how can you make it fun? Another way you could make baby making sex fun is you and your partner could go to a sex shop together.
Right.
And you separate and you each pick out 3 toys that you're curious about. And there's no yucking of yums. And you're going to learn a lot about your partner's sexuality by what they put in the basket, because things that are often hard to say are easier to show.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So the rule is no yucking yums. Okay? And be ready for surprises. And so you separate for 15 minutes and you come back and you look in each other's baskets. and you each pick 3 items. And so maybe you pick 6 items altogether. And each night that you're going to use for baby making sex, you're going to play with a toy.
Mm-hmm.
And that might work to help you, honestly, distract you.
Get you out of your head, right? And into your body.
Into your body by playing with this. So role play games, adding in toys. Don't use lube. There was a lube called Yes that was safe for conception.
Oh.
I would ask your doctor what lubricants they suggest that are safe for conception. Because you might, as a woman, you might not get aroused enough. You might not be as wet as you would be in normal sex for pleasure. And so lubricants help. It can make it more pleasurable and also less painful. I remember when we were trying to conceive, my husband saying to me as he was kissing me, okay, I get it. I'm supposed to get hard. You're supposed to get wet. And then we do it. And we were laughing. It was like a joke, but it wasn't a joke. I mean, that was what we had to do.
Right.
And it was a job. And so whatever you can do, bring in toys, bring in a game around it, bring a power, like what feels so politically incorrect, okay, could be hot for you. Okay? So political correctness and sex have nothing to do with each other.
Mm.
Okay, I'm a CEO, I'm a president, and, I like to be told to bend over and spread my legs in the bedroom. Okay, and so, you know what? Like Handmaid's Tale, not sexy in real life. Like, no, we don't want that kind of a world where our ability to make babies is politicized and all that. But, in the bedroom, playing a scene could be hot for you.
Right.
Make up the story, play it out. How do you make this fun?
Fun. That's what I'm hearing. Like, you got to make it fun. It cannot feel like a job.
No, and it does. So what we have to say, to be real, is it is a job. It's uncomfortable. It's having sex often when you're not wanting to have sex. Those are real feelings. This is inconvenient for me. I've had a long day working, doing whatever I'm doing, maybe taking care of a child in the house.
Mm-hmm.
And lots of people have secondary infertility or not, or just want to have a second child or a third child. Life is going on.
Right.
And you are determined to have this next child. You've got your ovulation kick going, or you are doing some sort of biorhythms and this is the night. So I'm going to say, yeah, that sucks. Been there, done that, wore the t-shirt many times, sometimes wet and in the street. I'm not going to ignore that it can feel stressful, that it can feel like work.
Right.
And so acknowledging that truth, right? Acknowledging the truth. How do you make it better? How do you work with your partner to make, that song, Whistle While You Work, do, right? Is that very popular? I don't know where that's from. But
Snow White.
I'm sorry?
Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Oh, Snow White, good for you. So if you can whistle while you work, all the better. So let's not pretend that you're not doing something with a purpose that can feel like work if it goes on for too long.
Right.
And what are the tools that you can bring in to make it sexier for you and your partner? And how do you talk to your body how do you do meditations where perhaps you may need to forgive your body? You may need to honor your body for doing all this work for you.
Right.
And so that you can stay connected, so that your vulva, your womb space, your heart space, your spirituality can stay connected, is not just becoming ahead during this process. Do you want to hear like an example of a shitty story from a reproductive endocrinologist?
Sure.
So this is what happens to couples. So I know that a lot of you are in preconception and just trying to conceive, understanding that doctors, if you end up having to see a reproductive endocrinologist, are not always the most sensitive to the fact that these are your sex organs. These are parts of your body that you use for pleasure and lovemaking. And I have when I was the executive director of RESOLVE New York City and the American Fertility Association, I spoke a lot to doctors. That was their confidant.
Right.
They would call me up and tell me about this, that, and the other, and gossip, right? Yes, doctors gossip.
They're human.
And they're human. And so this doctor, who I will not name, calls me up and says, Pamela, you won't believe what happened today. I said, what happened, Dr. Blah, blah, blah? I was doing an intrauterine insemination for a couple, and the husband was in the room, and that's fine. And he was holding her hand. I did the insemination, and he looked up at me and said, gosh, I feel like we should have a cigarette now. And this man, this potential daddy, this husband, was trying to normalize what was not a great situation for him and his wife. He was trying to add, oh my God, humor,
right,
a sense of playfulness to an uncomfortable situation. What did the doctor do? He shamed him. And he said, this is serious business. This has nothing to do with sex. This is serious. And of course, he's showing off to me, this doctor, because obviously this patient was very inappropriate. That patient was so appropriate.
Well, what did you say to the doctor?
Oh, well, I don't quite remember that, which is actually a true story. I think I mostly listened to him.
Okay.
And I mostly said, I think the patient was trying to normalize the difficulty.
He's trying to lighten the energy in the room.
Right. And I think that that's what we need to do around all this is, again, the understanding, like, we're not going to gaslight ourselves.
No.
Because that's not helpful. This isn't, it's so much easier to conceive a child when we're not thinking about conceiving a child.
Right. For sure. We hear the stories of couples who've been trying for years. They adopt a child because they really want to be parents. And then, oops, they get pregnant because they're no longer having that goal of trying to get pregnant anymore.
That's a possible reason. Another possible reason is that they're subfertile. And so people who are subfertile, it may take 10 years to conceive a child. You may not want to wait 10 years, and there's no guarantee. So my sister, bless her, she's passed. She and I were trying to conceive our children. Our boys are 33 years old. And they're one of the first IVF children that were born in the U.S.
Oh, wow.
Back when they were baby books. And my sister had scarred fallopian tubes from an IUD. She only had one tube, one egg. I had unexplained infertility. And I had both my children through in vitro. She had her first son through in vitro. Tried again like 5 times. Didn't get pregnant. Didn't work. And so Zach grew up as an only child. He was I think he was 8 or 9 when Ben was conceived.
Mm.
So with a broken fallopian tube, 1 ovary, my sister had a baby.
Got it. That's what you're referring to as subfertility. Like she could get pregnant, but there were some obstacles there for natural conception.
They didn't think she could get pregnant.
Ah, well, she could because she had the parts.
Right. She had the parts. So some of us have low sperm count, or, we're considered too old, or whatever it is, or there's something to do with the sperm and the mucus and it isn't like dancing well together. I don't know all the reasons. But some of us are less fertile than others.
Sure.
And then we try, we don't get pregnant between 6 months and a year. And that's an important thing to know about, right? So if you're in your mid-30s and you don't get pregnant on your own in 6 months, it's time to see a doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to mess around.
Right.
If you're in your 20s, you have a whole year of, ovulation, sex, kids and whatever, to have a child. So there's this time on your side. When there isn't time on your side, you don't want to wait too long if you're not getting pregnant. But, I don't know that you really invited me on to give all these facts and figures, and you may have done all these facts and figures in your shows before.
We've never really covered the biological clock. So I think this is really helpful that you're discussing that. What if a woman listening is in her late 30s? She's healthy. She takes care of herself. She was looking for her partner for the past 30 years. She's found him. Now what?
If you're 37 or 38, I actually, if it was me, knowing what I know, I would go see a reproductive endocrinologist immediately and
get some blood work done. And they also test the partner, correct? It's not just the woman.
No,
yeah.
It's both of you guys. It's 50-50.
Yes.
Making a baby is a team sport.
Yes.
And so if I was 37, I would find out what's going on. If my FSH is healthy, if his sperm count is healthy, I would give it a year if everything's great. Otherwise, otherwise I would, and if I'm feeling nervous after 6 months, it wouldn't be wrong to go back to the doctor.
Listen to your intuition, right?
Absolutely.
There are so many blood tests that are out there now that you can easily check these hormone levels. AMH is another good one to check the egg quality for women, right? So like, it's not really that invasive to get some blood done and just see where your status is.
Exactly. And so, it's, it's really interesting, the idea of, how do we make baby making a pleasurable experience when we are so focused on baby making?
Right.
Right. And what can we do to enhance fertility? So, get off your diets. You are more fertile chubbier. And if you are obese, you are more fertile thinner.
Right.
And nobody likes to hear this shit.
So we need to be a healthy weight.
We need to be a healthy weight. Now, that can really be difficult for women with high BMIs because some practices won't accept them.
Oh, fertility specialists, right.
Will not accept them. And if people could lose weight, they would. And, you're more high risk, you're less likely to conceive. And as a person who has had body weight on me, that's another shitty thing to hear. It's like, great. Not only am I not pretty enough by society standards, and I'm told to accept my body the way it is. And, everybody's body is the perfect body. And that's how we want to promote in the world. And what's also true is that some bodies, based on body weight, on both ends. And so maybe it's time to eat a hamburger, If your BMI is really low, maybe it's time to gain 5 pounds.
Well, especially if your period is indicative that you're not ovulating regularly, right? Like women that are very athletic and very low BMI will tend to skip periods. So that will directly impact fertility.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you have to change your lifestyle.
Right.
And
stress management's huge too.
And the same with obesity. So,
yeah.
If this is a goal, again, people tend to think forward towards goals. What I'm suggesting is date backwards. Date backwards. I don't mean like dating a person. It's like future cast backwards. So here I am, and I am 24 years old or 26 years old.
Right.
And I know I want to have a child. Like, having a child is really important to me. What do I do for my health and wellness to protect my fertility?
Yes.
And so that includes barrier birth control. People hate it. Sorry.
Condoms.
Sorry. And there are vaginal condoms. And I've used them.
I haven't.
I've used them. And what's great about vaginal condoms, they look clunky. They look like a big IUD with a tube. And you just take it like that and you push it up to your cervix and then it opens up. What's great about that for pleasure is it doesn't reduce male pleasure because it just becomes a lining of your vaginal canal.
Right.
It doesn't reduce female pleasure. Most of the pleasure in our vagina and cervix, you hear about G-spot, all that stuff, has to do with pressure. It has to do with pressure. So, impact.
Right.
Impact. So a vaginal condom doesn't interfere with that.
But I like that you're talking about avoiding hormonal contraception, because we know that can definitely negatively impact a woman's fertility.
Absolutely. I don't believe in any of it. I know there are better IUDs than there were
right.
when my sister had the Dalcon Shield and lost her fertility to an IUD. I think anything that we do that's permanent in our bodies, if we want to have a child, is a bad idea.
Sure.
If you are with a permanent partner, and you're cool about getting pregnant whenever, then don't use birth control. Then just don't use birth control. Right. If you are with a permanent partner and you're not ready to have a baby, I know people don't love it, but I recommend using barrier contraceptives because everything else can fuck with you.
Correct.
And
they all have side effects.
Yes.
Condoms don't.
They don't. And it takes a second. And they make really thin ones now. And, everybody can live. Everyone can live. I wouldn't take the pill. I wouldn't do any of that shit. I wouldn't stop my menstruation for a year.
Right.
I just don't think any of that is good for you. Now, I'm not a doctor, and this isn't medical advice. This is advice from your auntie. Okay?
Well, I completely agree with it. I've seen a lot of women that were doing, hormonal contraception and or IUD, even a copper IUD, right, which is non-hormonal, can cause the scar tissue that you had mentioned. It can cause damage. And if you never want to have a baby, then you don't necessarily care per se if you have scar tissue. But I don't know. I still wouldn't want to have scar tissue in my body if I could avoid it, right? If it's optional.
It's optional. So again, if we future cast backwards, what do you need to do 5 years before you're going to have a baby? 3 years before you have a baby.
Right.
To be ready to have a baby.
Yes.
And that means, how are you taking care of your reproductive self now? How do you take care of your whole body now? What is your BMI like? What is your blood sugar like? You know, have you had a glucose test recently?
Right.
You know, are you at risk for for gestational diabetes?
Right.
What can you do now to optimize your health during a pregnancy? Also your sexuality. Because if you're doing these things to optimize your reproductive health, you're optimizing your sexual health. Because it's all the same.
It's all connected.
You've got to get friendly with your parts. You've got to get to know, you really need to know your vulva anatomy. You need to know your internal anatomy. I've had women after childbirth, really bright women, like with degrees,
Right.
tell me, well, the doctor said he was going to do something with my inner labia, and I said, okay. So I didn't know what my inner labia was. And
Oh,
I
my.
was really embarrassed to ask the doctor.
Right.
Because, of course, I should know. And so if you haven't gone down there, ladies, and really know your own vulva, like if you can't pick your vulva out of a lineup of vulvas, okay?
I love that. I've never heard that, by the way.
Then it's time to be able to know her face.
Yes, it is. You don't think every guy knows what his penis looks like? Of course he does. He could pick it out in a lineup.
Absolutely.
And ours are a little bit harder to see, but all we need is a mirror.
All we need is a mirror. And
Yeah.
there are people like me in my programs. We do vulva mapping, or we have one exercise that I love doing with women is a woman laying on the massage table, butterflied, and a scribe sitting by her head, and then speaking about her vulva to her.
Mm.
And then having the words written down. And at the end, you have a vulva poem.
Oh.
You know, so I see that the color of your inner lips is peachy, like a ripe peach ready to be plucked. Your clitoris is so shy. She likes to hide under a hood, but when she pokes out her nose, she likes to wink at me in pleasure. And so creating beautiful perceptions of our own genitals, understanding the anatomy, what we look like, what feels good for us.
Right.
Understanding, taking a class about like Taking Back the Spectrum kind of classes where you get to really look inside your vulva with a sexologist, with somebody who's educated in this, where you really get to know your body. So when you are with a doctor or with a husband or a love partner, you're able to talk about your anatomy.
Right.
You're able to not have shame around, I always wonder what the sheet is for. You know, when you're in a gynecologist's office, they put a sheet over you. Who's embarrassed? You or the doctor? Like, why do we need to be covered? I mean, it's sort of like a shaming.
Mm.
It's really an indirect shaming of your body. Why wouldn't you want to see what's down there?
Right.
You know, they're the only ones who get to see what's down there.
Yeah.
That's your part. Are they protecting you from you? Or do they have shame around looking at your vulva? And it's very, it's so throwback to times past, where a woman's vulva was considered in some way shameful.
Hmm.
And that everyone needed to be protected from it.
Interesting. Where did that come from?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, you see lots of pictures of babies being born with women wearing dresses. Right? You know, people having sex, which can be fun. But, you know, I mean, some of this stuff can be fun. You know, having sex with your clothes on and all that. But when it's done for that, like that moment of,
Right.
you know, wild, rough, I'm going to take you, I want to be taken, throw up your dress, let's do it on the desk, you know, okay, it's fun. That's very different than the messaging that happens when we cover a woman's body during an examination.
Right.
Modesty.
Yeah, modesty. I mean, I gave birth naked, and I am so happy I didn't have to wear anything because there's nothing more primal than giving birth.
Right.
Like I was connected to my cave ladies.
Exactly. And so there is a reclaiming, there's a reclaiming of our sexuality and our bodies, even in these processes. Like, no, thank you. I don't need a sheet.
Right.
And, oh, wow, is there a mirror? Can I see?
Yes. I've had my midwife offer that before, and I thought that was beautiful. I don't know if you'll see that in the average OBGYN office, but that's why midwives are different and cool. Like they're like, hey, you should see what's going on down here. This is your body.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And women are often too shamed to ask for that. And so in your preconception days, you know, it may be time to get back to your body. It may be time to really get friendly with your sexuality.
Some breast massage.
All of that. I mean, have you ever taken a sex class? Have you ever done a women's group around your eroticism? Do you know, are you friends with your body?
Right.
Do you understand your sexuality now? I mean, are you able to experience arousal, orgasm, pleasure now before you go into baby making?
Right.
These things are
now
really,
is the time. Let's not wait.
Right. Let's forecast and work backwards. Are you an erotic woman now? If you're not an erotic woman now, you're not going to be an erotic woman after you're in baby making sex, and you're not going to have the skills or the desires or the ability immediately after having a child postpartum to be an erotic woman. So I suggest to everybody, a part of all of this is claiming your body, claiming your sexuality. Explore this now. Explore it now. You're going to need it later. These are all tools that you need now, knowing how to use your voice.
Yes.
Learning how to make sound. Can you make sound during sex? Well, if you can't make sound during sex, it's going to be really hard to really open that vocal cords when you're giving birth.
I was going to say the exact same thing. And that's how we dilate our cervix, right? We open our mouth. We make those low tones.
Right. So we need to practice that in our lovemaking. We need to practice intensity of sensation. We need to be able to play in all these things. You know, it's not just about, eating the hamburger, losing or gaining. It's not just about, understanding your blood levels, your glucose, your A1C and all those things, which are important. It's also about what's your relationship with your body. Are you sovereign?
Right.
Are you a sovereign erotic woman? If you're not, if all this sounds really frightening to you, I'm sure Dr. Branton has support for you. I have support for you. That's what I do.
Yeah, I think you're the expert in this area. So what would you, if a woman is feeling like, oh my God, I do not connect with this woman you're describing, what can she, like, how does she get back to her body? Because that will create an empowered woman, which will change every decision she's making during that pregnancy, during the birth, and for the rest of her life as a woman and a mother.
Well, I'm very particular in what I do and in what I support. So basically, I'm not going to tell a woman that if she takes a class or reads a book or does a workshop that her work is done.
Sure.
Okay.
Maybe for some women, yes, but it's fairies, right?
Well,
they have to do the homework.
I believe in immersions. I don't think that a lifetime of suppression, a lifetime of living in this body, a lifetime of not having this education, this freedom, not having voice and choice, not understanding directions of touch, not understanding your body. This happened over years. And I am very clear with women I work with that you're not going to for the forecast you have of yourself as this openly erotic, healthy, embodied woman. It's not going to happen in a workshop. It's not going to happen in a psychotherapy session. It's not going to happen from reading a book. I tell women, you want to work with me? Give me a year. Give me a year. Wow. Because I'm realistic.
That's preconception right there, man.
Give me a year. And if you can't give me a year, then go to somebody else. Because I'm not your girl.
Right.
And so I am truthful to people. It's like, I'm not going to take your money because you can only afford one thing, one workshop, one this, one that, and you're expecting that outcome.
Right.
You can go from here to there, and then to there, and then to there, and then to there, and then to there. And, it's like, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. Your neural pathways have to be rewired. You have to get rid of shadows. You have to get rid of trauma. And all that can happen for you in immersion.
Right.
And, I have an IRB study that proves the point. So I have a published study that was just put out in Sexuality and Relationship. That was not done by me. It was done by the doctors at Widener University. But they used our women because we have a repeatable model to study. And what they found was the women who did this deep immersion work over time, what happened for them was they found their voice. They were able to have what we call genital self-esteem. I love that. Genital self-esteem. They got to feel good about their vulvas because maybe they had genital shame. Really hard to have fun sex and great conception. And also, do you want to pass that on to your daughters?
No.
What's your responsibility now to the daughters and sons that you're going to have? Like, you've got to get right with your sex. Because how you feel about your sex, your trauma around sex, whatever happened to you around sex, you will bring with you to your child. You will pass that along. And if you don't know about epigenetics, then look it up. You can pass this shit forward.
Yes.
Not just in your attitudes around sex and sexuality, but literally in your genes.
And your genes.
And we know that it can be reversed.
And I think also what you're speaking to with the need to do, let's say, this 1 year process is we're not just clearing our own shame, right? It's our mothers, our grandmothers, generations of women that have felt shame about their bodies and their sexuality.
Yes. And it's also being able to name your desires. It's also able to speak about your body and what you want. I had a woman say, wow, no one's ever asked me before what I actually wanted erotically. No lover ever actually asked me, what do I want? Great. Can you tell them?
Yeah. They can't read your mind.
Right. Can you tell them?
Yeah.
I had So there's a tremendous change in women's ability to use voice, to use choice, to initiate sex, to find their orgasm, to find their arousal, to actually make friends with other women. Believe it or not, that was one of the things that they found in the study was women develop sisterhood as opposed to competition with other women, the compare and contrast gene, which women really go into, especially around conception. So, how do we heal that stuff, become sovereign? It's a big word for me. Are you sovereign? Are you erotically embodied? Have you done your work? And yes, this is all preconception work.
Yes, it
Because
is.
this stuff, to do it later, it's going to pop up again. It's going to pop up in perimenopause. And, this stuff does not go away.
Right. You have to clean out your basement.
Absolutely. And my suggestion to folks out there is you need to build yourself a team. So whether you're working with Dr. Brandon, great. Now, who else is on your team?
That's right. I'm balancing the nervous system. And
Right.
and that's, foundational for all this other work.
Exactly. And then who else is on your team? Is there a nutritionist on your team? Is there a reproductive endocrinologist on your team? Is there a sexologist on your team?
Where does somebody find a sexologist? Is there a website?
Well, they can come to backtothebody.org, which
Yep.
is my website,
Yep.
and they can have a free consultation. And we
Okay.
can support them on their way with resources. And there's lots of different things that they can do. But I'm a good place to start.
Yes.
And consultations are free. And they'll speak with a sexologist. They actually
Mm.
won't be speaking with me. They'll be speaking with a female member of my team. I have 4 women who are sexologists, and they can tell their story. They can talk about their concerns. All of these women are mothers. They're in varying ages, from 30s into their 50s. So they're various ages and life experiences, and several of them are psychotherapists as well as sex educators, and so
Mm.
they will steer them. I'm a very boutique program. Our women stay with us for a while because they give us the year. So I only have 30 spots a year to fill because those other 70 spots are gone. They're always gone. I
Right.
sell out almost a year in advance. So when I tell women to call for a free consultation, it's not because I'm looking for your dollar. I'm looking to support you on your journey. I'm not hungry. I'm very blessed. I've been doing this work for 13 years around sexuality and supporting women on all various kinds of journeys. I do believe this is a team sport. It's a team sport with your partner. But if you're a woman listening to this, do your work. If you're a man doing this, there are programs out there for you. Happy Touch, Apollo Project, Cosmo Means, great guy to talk to. Um, there are lots of really good people out there for both sides to support you to do your work, so that when you're ready to have a baby, whether it comes easily or it's more of a journey for you, you get where you want to go, because I believe that you can.
Mm. Pamela, well said. Any last thoughts you want to share?
You can't micromanage a conception.
Mm.
All you can do is make yourself whole and your partner whole to welcome a baby and be educated around it and get the support you need. And I'm very blessed. I have 2 children I thought I would never have. And I know lots of happy endings. And I wish everybody out there on their journey a happy ending and in getting educated. And again, I will say it over and over again. Future cast work backwards. Got that, everybody? future cast work backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your best way. And make it fun. Make it fun. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you, Pamela.
Can I let people know how they'll find me?
Yes.
So they can find me on Instagram at the Pamela Madsen, or on Facebook, Back to the Body, or Pamela Madsen. I'm verified in all those apps. And they can come to the website, backtothebody.org. But I put out a lot of free information. And we have an upcoming portal in October in Joshua Tree, which is a 3-day non-residential event. People can come and just begin to learn inexpensively.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for that time to let people know about me. And happy pre and post and during conception.
Thank you so much, Pamela. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode with this firecracker, Pamela. What a trip. It just makes so much sense that the more we're connected and loving with our body and in our sexuality, how that can enhance our ability to have a conscious conception and create new life from this place of love and connection and sexual women's health. So if you want to learn more about Pamela and her retreats or her programs, you can go to her website at backtothebody.org.